Husband preferred my best friend, so I set him up. Her husband broke his nose for trying. My husband straight up told me he'd rather sleep with my best friend than me. So, I told him she was into him too, set up a little double date, and watched her husband rearrange his face when he made a move on her. Now, before I get into the mess that followed, let me set the stage. Back in high school, it was always me, my best friend Nicole, and a whole lot of teenage chaos. But my husband, Jacob, was just an acquaintance back then. We knew of each other, but we were not close. We only reconnected years later at a reunion, hit it off, went on a few dates, and after realizing we had a lot in common, we got together. Fast forward a couple of years, and we were married. Nicole and I had been tight since kindergarten. We practically grew up together, and even now, she is still my closest friend. She met her husband, Travis, at work. They dated for a few years, got married about a year ago, and seemed genuinely happy together. The four of us even went on double dates now and then, just hanging out and enjoying life. Things were good until last week. Jacob and I had a rare night in, just the two of us, unwinding after a hectic week. We cracked open a bottle of wine, finished it faster than we probably should have, and decided to play that silly game where you name 5 celebrities you could hook up with, no consequences. It was just a joke, right? I listed my 5, no problem. Jacob, though? He could only come up with 4. I teased him about it, pushing him to name a 5th, thinking he'd just pick some random actress or singer. But no. He sat there, mulled it over, and then, without hesitation, said, "Well, if I knew you wouldn't be mad, I'd totally sleep with Nicole." I felt like I had been smacked across the face. I tried to laugh it off, but even in my drunken state, I could not find the humor in that. My stomach turned. I asked him if he was serious, hoping, praying, he would backtrack. But instead, he doubled down. Said he had a crush on her since high school. Said he used to see me as Nicole's less attractive sidekick. At that point, I could not even speak. He kept going, completely oblivious to the fact that he was stomping all over my dignity, talking about how lucky Travis was to have her. I went to bed that night, furious and humiliated, hoping I would wake up and realize it was just a bad dream. But it was not. The next morning, hungover but still fuming, I confronted him over breakfast. He barely looked up from his cereal, acting like he had said nothing wrong. When I asked him point blank if he still found Nicole attractive, he answered without hesitation, "Of course." That was it. I snapped. I yelled, I argued, but instead of apologizing, he had the nerve to tell me I should just accept it. Said he loved me, sure, but if it was purely about looks, Nicole had me beat. If he ever had the chance to sleep with her, he would. And he expected me to be okay with that. We fought, and he left for work, calling me childish for being upset. Even had the gall to tell me I was the one who brought the game up, so I should not be mad at the answer. I spent the whole day crying, trying to process the fact that my husband openly admitted he would pick my best friend over me in a heartbeat. For 2 days, we barely spoke. He acted like nothing had happened, convinced he had done nothing wrong. By the 3rd day, I broke. I told Nicole everything. She was livid. She wanted to call Jacob and tell him exactly what she thought of him, but I stopped her. I was not ready for that yet. Instead, she helped me come up with a plan. If Jacob was so convinced Nicole wanted him, why not let him prove it in front of Travis? She mentioned how Travis had punched a guy in the past for disrespecting her, and that gave me an idea. I set up a double date and played nice with Jacob, even apologizing to him, just to make sure he would go along with it. He actually had the audacity to act smug, saying he was glad I had come to my senses. Then, I poured gasoline on the fire. I lied and told Jacob that Nicole had secretly had a thing for him for years. That she would totally be open to something happening if Travis was cool with it. Jacob ate it up like a fool. So, the night of the double date arrives. We are all dressed up, sitting in one of the nicest restaurants in town. Jacob is grinning like an idiot, thinking he has a shot with Nicole. Meanwhile, Nicole and I are barely holding back laughter, waiting for the show to start. After some drinks and small talk, I casually bring up the game we played the other night. Name 5 celebrities you would hook up with, I say. Jacob, thinking he is in the clear, boldly names Nicole in front of everyone. Nicole acts shocked. I act shocked. And Travis? Oh, Travis was fuming. He gave Jacob one chance to take it back and apologize. But Jacob, convinced he was about to win some kind of jackpot, kept going. Said there was no need to pretend anymore, that they could finally admit their feelings now that everything was out in the open. That was the last straw. Before anyone could blink, Travis was across the table, grabbing Jacob by the collar and yanking him to his feet. Then, boom. One punch. Jacob went down like a sack of bricks. Restaurant staff rushed over, we were all escorted out, and Jacob, bleeding and furious, finally realized he had been played. But instead of admitting he had been an idiot, he turned on Nicole and me, calling us cowards for setting him up. Travis told him if he said one more word, he would not just be leaving with a broken nose, he would be leaving in an ambulance. That shut him up real quick. I did not go home that night. I went to a hotel. On the way there, Nicole and I finally explained everything to Travis, expecting him to be mad that we had set him up like that. But instead, he just shrugged and said Jacob had it coming. A few hours later, I got a text from Jacob, calling me a psycho and saying he wanted a divorce. Good. I still felt a little guilty that he had to go to the hospital alone, but at the same time, watching him get punched in the face might have been one of the most satisfying moments of my life. But now that I have sobered up, I am wondering if I went too far. I mean, yeah, what he said was disgusting, but I did kind of set him up just to watch him get his ass handed to him. So now, I am sitting here asking myself, was I wrong for what I did? After some chit-chat and a couple of drinks, I decided to bring up the little game Jacob and I had played the other night. I steered the conversation right where I wanted it to go, all casual-like. Just like before, I rattled off 5 celebrities I would not mind hooking up with if I ever got the chance. Then, I turned to Jacob and told him it was his turn. And, just like I expected, he confidently threw Nicole's name out there. No hesitation. No embarrassment. He actually believed she was into him, all thanks to the little lie I had fed him the day before. He thought Travis was totally fine with it too. Too bad for him, none of that was true. The moment Nicole heard her name, she gasped like she had just seen a ghost. I played my part, 2 big eyes, shocked expression. We made it look like Jacob had just said the most outrageous thing in the world. Then, I turned to Travis. And, man, he did not disappoint. His jaw clenched. His eyes darkened. He is a big guy, built like he wrestles bears for a living, and at that moment, he looked about ready to launch himself across the table. Still, he gave Jacob a chance to save himself. He kept his voice steady, but there was no mistaking the edge to it when he told Jacob to apologize. Said if he did that, we would all move on, and the night would be over. Jacob? Jacob did not read the room. Instead of backing down, he doubled down. Smirking like an idiot, he said there was no need to apologize because he knew Nicole felt the same way. He even took it a step further, saying that now that everything was out in the open, they could finally stop pretending. As if Travis and I did not exist. The moment the words left his mouth, I knew it was over. Before Jacob could react, Travis was on his feet. He reached across the table, grabbed Jacob by the collar, and yanked him up. There was a single, frozen moment, where Jacob's expression shifted from smug confidence to absolute panic. Then bam! Travis's fist connected with Jacob's face, and he went down like a sack of bricks. The restaurant staff rushed over, trying to break things up. Next thing I knew, we were all being escorted out. Nobody called the cops, probably because the restaurant did not want any bad publicity, which worked out just fine for us. Jacob was bleeding, his nose clearly broken, but he still had the nerve to run his mouth. He called Nicole and me cowards, acting like we had tricked him into some unfair fight. But he did not keep talking for long. Travis, still standing tall and furious, gave him one final warning, one more word, and he would be eating through a straw for the next few weeks. That was the last we heard from Jacob that night. I did not go home after that. Nicole and Travis dropped me off at a hotel, and on the drive there, we told Travis the whole story. We expected him to be mad that we had used him like that, but instead, he just shook his head and said Jacob had it coming. A couple of hours later, my phone buzzed. Jacob. He sent me a long, bitter text, calling me an awful person. Said I had betrayed him. Complained that he had to go to the emergency room alone and had to get his nose fixed, all because I had set him up. He called me disgusting, said what I did was psychotic and childish, and told me he wanted a divorce. Good. I did not even answer. Just shut my phone off and went to sleep. At that moment, I still felt good about everything. No regrets. No second thoughts. But now that I have sobered up, I am starting to wonder. Was it too much? I mean, yeah, what he said was horrible. But I did set him up. I did let him believe Nicole wanted him, just to watch him crash and burn. He deserved what he got. Right? Update 1. I have read the comments, and, yeah, I screwed up. Most of you are saying everyone sucks here, and I cannot even argue with that. Jacob was awful. No doubt about it. But Nicole and I? We were not much better. We went out of our way to humiliate him. Worse than that, we used Travis like a weapon, counting on him to lose his temper so we could watch Jacob get knocked down a peg. That was not fair. We knew Travis had worked hard to control his anger, and we basically threw him into a situation where he had no choice but to react. And yeah, Jacob absolutely deserved it, but the way we went about it was messed up. Looking back now, I can see that I was acting out of pure spite. I did not think about the consequences. Nicole did not either. We were both just focused on making Jacob pay for what he said, and we did not care how we got there. Now that I have had time to sit with it, I am embarrassed. So, Nicole and I talked, and we both agreed we owe Jacob an apology. Not because he did not deserve to be put in his place, but because we handled it in the worst way possible. And on top of that, there is a real chance he could press charges against Travis. It has been a few days, and he has not yet, but that does not mean he will not. So, just to be safe, we are going to apologize. That being said, I am still divorcing him. There is no coming back from this. I do not want to be with someone who openly admits he would rather be with my best friend. I do not care how honest he was being. That is not something I can ever forgive. We are also going to apologize to Travis because, honestly, we did him dirty. He is a good guy. He has had his struggles, but he has worked through them. And we used him. I also made him sound worse than he really is. He is not some violent, out-of-control guy. He actually avoids fights whenever he can. The last time he hit someone before Jacob was years ago when a creep catcalled Nicole. And even then, all he did was give the guy a black eye. Travis does not go around looking for fights. But he will stand up for his wife, and honestly, I respect the hell out of him for that. So, yeah. I messed up. Nicole messed up. We all did. But at least I am taking steps to fix it. I am not saying violence is the answer to everything, but sometimes words just do not cut it. Update 2. So, Nicole and I went over to Jacob's place today to apologize, but let us just say it did not go well. I needed to grab some of my stuff, and she came along with me. The second we walked in, I could feel the tension. Jacob was sitting there with his nose bandaged up, looking pissed, but he did not say a word to either of us the whole time we were packing. I will admit, seeing him like that made me feel a little bad. He was clearly in pain, and for a second, I almost thought maybe I should not have let things go as far as they did. When we were about to leave, I figured I would be the bigger person and apologize. I told him I was sorry for setting him up like that, and honestly, I expected him to at least acknowledge that what he had said about Nicole was messed up. Maybe even apologize to me and Nicole, too. But nope. Instead, he just looked at me with this smug, deadpan expression and said he did not care about my apology. Said that now that the damage was done, there was nothing left to talk about. Then, he dropped the kicker, told us we should be grateful he had not pressed charges against Travis and that we should consider ourselves lucky he had ever shown interest in either of us at all. Yeah. He actually said that. According to Jacob, we were nothing compared to the women he had been with before. Like he was doing me and Nicole some kind of favor just by existing in our lives. I just stood there, speechless. I mean, I always knew he had an ego, but that was a whole new level. Nicole was just as shocked. But before either of us could say anything, he went off again. Said we had our chance with him, and we blew it. That our apologies meant nothing because he was done with both of us. As if either of us were hoping for another shot with him. I tried to set the record straight, told him we were not there to beg for anything, just to clear the air. But before I could finish, he slammed the door in our faces. That was the moment I knew there was never a decent person inside Jacob waiting to come out. The guy he showed me that day? That was the real him. And honestly, I am not even surprised. Looking back, this should not have been shocking. Even when we were together, he always talked openly about his hot co-workers, or some cute girl he saw at the store. I never thought much of it because I figured, hey, people look. As long as he was not acting on it, what was the harm? Turns out, I was dead wrong. He was not telling me about these other women because he was some honest guy who wanted to be transparent in our marriage. He was doing it because he genuinely thought he was a prize. That I should feel lucky he chose me, despite all the better options out there. Yeah. No thanks. At least Nicole and I did our part. We apologized. He can sit there and be bitter all he wants. Now, talking to Travis? That was a whole different story. We told him everything, how we had used him, how we had basically counted on him losing his temper, and how that was not fair to him. But he just shrugged and told us not to worry about it. Said he would gladly do it again if another guy disrespected his wife like that. According to him, some people only learn their lesson when it is delivered directly to their face. And honestly, I cannot even argue with that. Still, we apologized. Not just for putting him in that situation but for using his anger as part of our plan. He accepted it, no drama. And just like that, we could finally close the chapter on Jacob. Update 3. I officially filed for divorce a couple of days ago. Yesterday, Jacob got served. This morning, I woke up to a text from him. Said I was going to regret this. Said he was not going to stop me, but I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Oh, and he gave me a deadline, told me I had until the end of the week to come and pick up the rest of my stuff, or he would either donate it or throw it in the trash. Classy, right? I am not even worried about it, though. Nicole already told me I could stay with her until I find my own place, and she is even letting me store my things in her house for now. She is honestly the best. Meanwhile, Jacob is apparently out there running his mouth to all our mutual friends, trying to spin the story his way. What he does not realize is that, no matter how he tries to twist it, he still looks like a complete clown. Because at the end of the day, the facts do not change. He hit on his wife's best friend. He got played. And he got his nose broken for it. Most people are reaching out to me, saying I did the right thing, wishing me luck, and telling me I am better off without him. So, in a weird way, Jacob is actually doing me a favor. Let him talk. It does not bother me. Because the truth is, I won. I got out of that marriage before I wasted any more time on him. And now, I get to move on, while he is stuck licking his wounds, literally. And you know what? I am good with that.